Looks to bounce back from a rusty game where he scored 15 points and pulled down 3 rebounds. Expect Embiid, Nick, to look like the MVP tonight.
100%. I have not given out. I've only given out one gambling pick on this show all year, or I mean all NBA playoffs. This Embiid is going to score 30 plus for the first time. Now this is what's noteworthy. His player props, I think 25.5. I'd hammer the over on it. He has not scored 30 plus since April 4th. That's over a month, when he had 52 against Boston. Now, in his defense, he's only played 5 games in that stretch. So it's not like he's in a long drought, but it's still a month since he has scored 30. Embiid, I think the first game was about kind of getting himself back in shape a bit. I know it's like, oh, it's only been 2 weeks. His size, his body type, I think you actually can get out of shape if you're off your feet for 10 days like he was to a degree. Also, it was getting back in rhythm. And I think when he was so emotional about getting this award and really talking about getting league MVP well before he was even in the league, when you posted the tweet from 9 years ago, right. I think you are going to see an inspired, motivated Joel Embiid in front of a home crowd, and I think he's going to be sensational tonight, and I think he needs to be. The Phillies' path to the finals goes through the league MVP playing like it. Now, they got through the first round against a decimated Brooklyn team without him doing it, and they got through game 1 without him even playing. The rest of the way, Brew, he's going to have to be 30-12 with awesome defense. What we were talking about yesterday with Anthony Davis, and my defense was, well, he's not the league MVP. He's not the best player in the league. Embiid's supposed to be. I think he will be tonight.
I agree with you. I think he will have a great game. I think he'll look every bit like the MVP. But I also think, like the previous 2 guys to win it before him, he will play great but lose.
Oh.
Jokic, and I know I'm talking serious, but Jokic playing great last year, losing in the first round. Giannis, after he won the MVP, didn't play great against Miami, but put up decent numbers, shot well from the field, but lost. I think, look, Embiid has averaged, Nick, 37 and 12 on 60+% shooting against Boston this year, and yet he was 1-3. So I really think Embiid's going to have a great game, but I think it's going to depend on Harden having a very good game. He doesn't have to go, obviously, for 40, even 30, but having a really good game, and then Maxey and Tobias Harris. Like, what do the others, as Shaq calls them, do around Embiid? I think that's the key.
Before you jump in on Harden, I think it's the others on Boston that are not going to show up the way they did in Game 2. Boston's bench hit 12 threes in Game 2. Philly's entire team hit 6. The idea that you are going to get that level of performance against one of the best defenses in the league on the road in the playoffs from your others.
Their benches, they're
no, listen, deep. Boston's a very good team for a reason. They're a deep team. I understand all that, and they have a legitimate 6th Man of the Year candidate. I understand all of that. I do not think they are going to get that. I think it is the Boston bench on the road that is going to struggle somewhat in this game. It's one of the reasons I like Philly tonight.
Okay. Interesting Vegas line. Jaylen Brown coming off a 25-point performance. Tatum only had 7.
Yeah.
Celtics favored by 2.5. Nick, are you surprised at this line?
I am, and this is not because I picked Philly, I promise. I have too much loyalty to the gambling gods to have that pollute my analysis of a gambling line. This is a wild line to me. Philly is at home against a team that we all agree has not, over the course of the playoffs, exactly been humming on all cylinders. Even Brew would agree. Brew believes they'll get there, but it's not like Boston has looked like a juggernaut from the beginning of the postseason. Philly has the best record in the NBA over the last 2 months, the best record in the NBA over the last 4.5 months, and they're back whole. For them to be underdogs at home in a Game 3 is wild to me. And by the way, the line is moving in the Celtics' direction. It opened at 1.5 this morning in our meeting. It was 2, and we had to adjust it right before we went on the air because it moved to 2.5. That is very surprising to me because that is Vegas saying that they agree with Brew that Philly's drawing dead in the series. That Philly is far and away a worse team than Boston. And we have 4 months of evidence of Philly has lost 17 times since early December. Every other team in the league's lost at least 21.
But look, Vegas is right. All right, and it's like I said, I wish I had 12 toes to say I was 12 toes down on this. You know, I can't tell you enough how shocked I will be if Philly beats Boston.
Tonight?
Well, for the series. But tonight I do expect Boston to win because Boston, you're right. When they've gotten any little bit of cushion or chance to relax, they've done it.
Don't you think that counts for tonight?
I don't know. I think they understand we need to regain control of this series. Now, they may win tonight. I think they'll win tonight, and they might lose game 4. But I think tonight they go out there and win because they know this is still a big, important game. And to your point, Embiid's getting the MVP. He's probably going to have a great game. And if you beat them with Embiid playing great, I don't think he's going to go for 52 like he did last. But he scores 37, to your point, 13 boards, and they beat them. I think that'll be demoralizing a bit to Philly. So I think that Boston's going to come out and play well. And Nick, just one thing about the record over the last 4 months, Philly being the best. This year, and I think maybe going forward if load management continues, the regular season records and things like that, they don't mean what they used to because so many stars sit out. Even Embiid, you could throw out, you know, he didn't play his last game against Denver. So throwing out their record overall against Denver this year or the stats means nothing. Look at the playoffs. We got an 8th seed in the East. We got a 5th seed alive in the East. We got a 6th and a 7th seed and a 4th seed alive in the West. Like, the regular season records don't mean what they used to.
So I agree with you that head-to-head matchups, this is what this team's record was against this team, is very difficult to find value in until you go until you go to the actual box scores and you're like, oh, okay, everyone was playing in all of those games. Famously, the Embiid 52-point game, there was no Brown or Tatum in that game. I remember us talking about
it. I don't think.
Robert Williams is in or out, but the point is they were without their top 2 guys. I do think that over the course of a 60-game sample, we get an idea of, Brew, maybe it's not the team with the best record's the best team. That'll give you. Yeah. But my point is, I feel like Philly is being discussed like they were a mediocre team throughout the year. Like
they are being disrespected. I will give you that. Right, this is disrespectful.
That's the point that I'm making.
So they should use this.
And I mean, you're the Pied Piper of that disrespect. But I appreciate you acknowledging it. But they are.
You want 12 toes.
You want extra toes. Those are
nobody
fingers.
Backing up.
Okay.
Backing up.
Question for you. Tatum had 7 points last game.
I'm glad you're asking about
this. This is Tatum's. With less than 20 points, fewer than 20 points, he comes back in a big way, scores 35 points. They're 5-1. So let me tickle your NBA history funny bone there, Broussard. I like the idea that we're giving out the trophy right there on the court so the other guy can see it. And Tatum came
trying to do a David Robinson-Hakeem thing?
I mean, sounds like it.
There's something to it. I feel like David Robinson-Hakeem really thought that he deserved that one.
Yes.
I don't think Tatum in his
thinks he was MVP this year.
But if you're the
man, but if you're the man, you want to say, you know what? I was 4th. I'm the man. I want to show out. I think it's actually Tatum's going to play.
I think that's a great point.
Better than Embiid.
I hadn't really thought about that, but you're right. Look, Tatum can say, I outplayed Durant last year.
Yeah.
We beat Giannis last year. We got to the finals last year, and I was on one of the top teams. I'm the best player. My numbers are great. I wasn't even discussed. I wasn't even considered after, the first month or so people were talking about.
Fell off.
So I do think I don't know if he thinks he should have won it or not, but I bet you he thinks he should have been in the discussion. And so that's a great point.
So I think that is a really great point, actually. And anytime you can bring up the 95 Western Conference Finals, you know I'm all about it. Oh, man, dream shaking all over David Robinson. Just what a time. But I thought you were going to go a slightly different direction, which is we look back, it was 2 days ago, or however long, Game 2 Sixers Celtics as a blowout. It was a close, relatively game was in the margins for the first half of that game, got away from the second half. Here's why I say that. That makes Tatum's 1 for 7 even more odd. If they were up 30 after the first quarter and a half, and it's like, okay, the starters are not playing much, but they had to have that game. Mm-hmm. And it was not like it was decided by halftime. And Tatum was brutal in that game. So I am interested in how he bounces back from that, because that has not been who he's been. And your point, that's a great stat that he averages 35 a game after bad playoff games would be worrisome for Philly. But I am curious to see how Tatum looks tonight. And if Tatum and Brown can have a great game simultaneously. Because that's when the Celtics look like they're going to win the championships, when Tatum and Brown play well together.
I think it's going to happen.
Okay. I'm going to hammer the Tatum over.
No, I'm not going to do that.
Why?
I'm going to take Philly on the money line and Embiid over 25.5. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.